League is doing something different, and here's how we got there. Back in the 1980s, football had a serious image problem. The sport was plagued by violence, pitch invasions and beer-fuelled chaos. From fan riots at the 1980 Scottish Cup final to the Heysel disaster years later, things were unsafe and the consequences were disastrous. Then in 1985, Margaret Thatcher's government stepped in. They introduced the Sporting Events Control of Alcohol Act, banning alcohol in view of the pitch across England and Wales. Since then, many fans and clubs have called for the law to be relaxed, especially since other sports don't face the same restrictions. If you're popping down to watch the Red Roses roar at Twickenham, feel free to grab a pint on the way to your seat. Wandering down to Lord's to catch some boundary bashing? Fill your boots with G&Ts. But if you were hoping to cheers your club's promotion to the Premier League with a Prosecco in hand from pitchside, sorry, it'll have to be tea or Bovril. In 2021, it looked like things might finally change. The government commissioned the Crouch Report, a fan-led review into football governance. One recommendation was to allow League Two and National League clubs to lift the alcohol ban to boost matchday revenue. But nothing came of it. Authorities still weren't convinced that fans could be trusted. And then in January 2025, something did change. The Women's Championship, now called the WSL2, launched a trial allowing fans to drink in the stands. The reasoning? Well, fans at women's matches tend to behave differently. Less aggression, more family-friendly vibes. Now, the women's game is raising the bar, literally. Select WSL and WSL2 stadiums are allowing fans to drink alcohol in view of the pitch. It's been a landmark move, showing growing trust in fans and recognising that women's football is building its own culture. So could the men's game be the next to leave the 1980s behind? Well, maybe, if fans can prove they can handle a pint without pitching it at someone. Yeah, don't hold your breath. Until then, it's Bovril all around. Cheers to that.
Good morning, I'm Angelina Kelly and this is Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Last night we saw West Ham beat Brentford in the FA Cup on penalties. How about that Dango Ouattara miss? Also, where has that Jared Bowen been, by the way? Going to get into that. Of course, there was the FA Cup draw itself, which we'll get into as well. But how lucky are Arsenal to get that draw against Southampton? Could the quadruple be on the breakfast? I know.
Hey.
What? Yeah.
Best team in the country.
Listen, we'll discuss it. Don't you worry. On the breakfast show at 6 a.m. with Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders, they're live from the Cheltenham Festival. So AP McCoy joins the boys this morning. Then at 10 a.m. it's Jim White and Simon Jordan getting stuck into the meatiest sporting stories of the day. But Nick, I know I've upset you already with that, but what have we got coming up over the next hour?
Unbelievable start to the show. We'll start at the London Stadium with Dango Ouattara's failed Panenka. We've got Jamie O'Hara on the Spurs crisis and his reaction to that viral clip as well from last week. We'll hear from Newcastle's Lewis Hall on coming up against, for my money, the most exciting player in world football right now, Lamine Yamal, tonight in the Champions League. And we're asking you, who is your most exciting player to watch right now? As always, get involved on the usual number, 03717 223344, or WhatsApp or text us on 81089.
OK, let's get into it. Nick's giving me evils already.
You're just throwing shade on the Saints top of the show.
Out of all the options that Arsenal could have had in the FA Cup draw,
still there?
Yes, but you know, look at Manchester City and Liverpool. They're having to face each other. Arsenal will look at that and they'll feel a little bit happy with that, and that's okay. But Southampton could surprise everyone. They could end the quadruple attempt.
Imagine that.
See, you're smiling now, thinking about that.
I actually agree with you. I cannot see any way of Saints getting past Arsenal. They're too strong. I know they had a bit of a wobble. Was it Mansfield, wasn't it? But it was a dodgy pitch, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got a decent Arsenal have been worryingly good in the FA Cup, even with their second string. So yeah, I think I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I just couldn't believe you having a go at Saints right at the top of the show there.
I know. Sorry, I just wanted to grab your attention.
And what about tonight? Which game are you going to be watching?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? So many good Champions League games. I don't know. Might have to see Spurs absolutely throw away the Champions League. That might be quite entertaining, to be honest. But to be honest, I'm still reeling from the FA Cup last night because West Ham United are the last team through to the FA Cup quarter-finals after they beat Brentford 5-3 on penalties after a 2-2 draw in normal time. It was a brilliant cup tie and it was live on talkSPORT.
For the Hammers, a cup run might be seen as a distraction, but for Brentford, it's an opportunity. Fernandes with the cross. It's down by Souček, poked in by Bowen, headed home by Nathan Collins off the goalkeeper and in. And they're complaining West Ham.
Well, I think it is Thiago, who's right in front of Areola.
The final touch did come off Thiago, and I think that will go down as his 20th goal of the season. And then Traore goes down under a challenge from Coyote.
That's a definite penalty.
Jared Bowen from restoring West Ham United's lead. He steps up, left-footed, he slides it into the corner.
Well, he's got the armband on, and he will take responsibility.
Schade is tackled from behind.
Fernandes' face says it all.
He said no penalty. Hangs it up into the penalty area. Coyote feels as if he got a push in the back as he went towards the goal. It's a penalty for Brentford. Thiago is a constant dispatcher of spot kicks, and he steps up and does it exactly again. And it's 2-2. And penalties will decide who plays Leeds United in the quarter-finals. Konstantinos Mavropanos steps up, right-footed, and it's a brilliant penalty into the corner. And West Ham United are through to the FA Cup quarter-finals for the first time in a decade.
Now, let's just get it out of the way, shall we? Let's just talk about that penalty. Dango Ouattara stepped up to the penalty spot. It was woeful. There was a pause, an attempt at a Panenka, which kind of looped into the hands of Hammer's goalkeeper, Alphonse Areola. You have to feel for the guy. It does take guts to take a penalty, but these are your big moments where you have to step up and ultimately be serious. This isn't the time to be trialling and testing things. And if you take a penalty like that and it doesn't come off, you do look stupid. Joe Cole on TV said he should never do that again in his career. I mean, I doubt he will. He's probably scarred for life. You look at West Ham's penalties, they were excellent. They all had a lot of power. And I've never taken a penalty in a high-pressure situation, but I'd like to think if I was to take a penalty, you've got to hit it hard. The keeper shouldn't be able to save it, whereas showboating like that is reliant on the goalkeeper diving. And also, props to Jared Bowen. He scored West Ham's 2 goals. Where has this Jared Bowen been all season? He's their club captain. Will, of course, go down as a West Ham legend when he retires. After that winning goal in the Conference League final, of course. But has he done enough this season? You look at Crescencio Somerville. He's been the player carrying them that's really stepped up to the plate, since they've got into form under Nuno Espirito Santo. And if they want to stay up, I do think that Bowen needs to maybe refine his form and shooting boots. And if they go down, he's going to have to take a share of the blame. He's only got 8 in the league this season, got 13 last campaign, 16 the year before. Also, his England place, is that definitely confirmed? Madueke, Saka, Rashford, Gordon, all probably ahead of him in the pecking order. Morgan Rogers can play on the wing too, so these next 3 months are going to be big for him. But as West Ham fight for the Premier League survival, Nuno's told us that the cup run will help.
More than anything, the squad. I think the squad gave a good answer today. We made a lot of changes, and the answer of the player was good. So having the squad motivated, many of them work very hard during the week. Then comes the weekend, they don't play, but they stick and supporting the teammates. So it's good for the squad, and it's amazing for the club.
Yes, it was a great win for West Ham. There were a lot of eyebrows raised when Nuno made 7 changes to the side that beat Fulham, but it worked. And, whilst you're battling in the FA Cup and to survive in the Premier League, you want your players to be able to step up to the plate, whoever you call upon. But West Ham's next match is at home to Manchester City in the Premier League, and it's live and exclusive on talkSPORT at 8 p.m. on Saturday evening. And last night, of course, there was the draw for the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. We've got Southampton versus Arsenal, which we've already touched on. Chelsea against Port Vale. Manchester City will host Liverpool. West Ham, of course, now that they're through, will face Leeds United. I'm sure Arsenal fans, like I say, will be rubbing their hands together. No disrespect to Nick and Southampton, but it's another easy draw, especially considering the games will take place over the weekend of the 4th and 5th of April, the weekend before the Champions League quarterfinals. But speaking of the Champions League, Spurs are in free fall, but can tonight help? Yes, despite being in a relegation battle, Tottenham are still in the Champions League. They travel to face Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano Stadium tonight, and it's live on talkSPORT with kick-off at 8 p.m. They've reserved their best football for this competition, but I do think that they're going to struggle with the pressure of the Premier League and not getting relegated on their shoulders to get a win over both legs against Atleti. Diego Simeone may have ripped up the manual on how his sides normally play, but they're very, very dangerous. You think about Julian Alvarez, Alexander Sorloth, Antoine Griezmann up front. They do have a stinker in their locker, Atleti, but I think that with Spurs, like I say, in this free fall, they will be there for the taking. However, Igor Tudor says a tricky Champions League trip to Atletico Madrid can help the team sort out their problems and grow, but Premier League survival is their number one priority. Here's Jamie O'Hara.
I don't think Spurs, when they appointed Igor Tudor, actually genuinely... I don't think they genuinely thought it was in a relegation fight. And now, obviously, they know they are desperately in one. So, the players have got to find something. I don't know what that is, but they've got to find some courage from somewhere because the other teams below are fighting and they will pick up points.
I mean, could you not argue that Spurs have been sleepwalking into a relegation battle for about a year now? I mean, they did finish 17th last season. It feels like nobody's read the signs. And, you know, a big part of why they're in this mess is because the people right at the top have almost refused to take the prospect of relegation seriously, apart from maybe the departed Daniel Levy, who did give everyone, these relegation clauses, release clauses. So, you know, no squad overhaul, no restructure of wages. It's not looking good. But Jamie also revealed he felt was pure anger towards Jason Cundy in that viral clip from Sports Bar last week.
Guys, shut up! Do you know how many people sent me that over the weekend?
I know.
And they were like, you were actually genuinely. I was like, yeah, I was. Imagine working with this guy sat next to you when Spurs get beaten. He's got an hedge mask on, a clown hat, and he's just sitting there just saying, are you going down? For 20 minutes?
Yeah,
of course.
I pushed the envelope, I'm not going to lie.
Pushed it?
Yeah, I did,
no.
yeah.
And don't forget that Atletico Madrid versus Spurs is live on talkSPORT this evening. You can join Adrian Durham from 7 p.m. for all the build-up before commentary at 8 p.m. from Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto. We've also got the early kick-off at 5:45 p.m. as Galatasaray face Liverpool, live on talkSPORT 2 with commentary from Ian Danter and former England defender Alvin Martin. But also, we've got Newcastle. They are playing, and Eddie Howe is trying to rouse his troops for what he's calling the biggest game in Newcastle's history.
Recent history, I don't know. Someone could trip me up going way back. I'm sure they will. But I think recent history, for me it is. And I think, that's very much the mentality we need. I think rising to the occasion, embracing the size of the game. I think these are things that have helped us this season. And we're looking for the same again.
Now, I was speaking to European football expert Kev Hartshard about this game and how tactically it does suit Eddie Howe's side. Barcelona play with this high line, which I think is perfect for the likes of Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes. They're good with pacing behind, and whilst the likes of Pedri or Lamine Yamal on their day make your life tough, Barcelona will let you play. So I'm very excited to see how this one goes. And England fans will, of course, be looking forward to tonight's matchup between Lamine Yamal and Newcastle left-back Lewis Hall. He's up for it as well.
I think it goes without saying he's obviously a special talent. I've seen him play in enough Champions League games. I know what he's about. So for me, if I was to be selected, it's obviously I'll be really looking forward to it. And for me, I want to test myself against the best players in the world. So no better opportunity to do so than the game tomorrow. So really looking forward to it.
It is wild to think that Lamine Yamal is still 18 years of age, but is one of the best players in the world, integral for Barcelona, already come second in the Ballon d'Or and didn't just win the European Championships with Spain, but was so important for his nation in that tournament at such a young age. But as I say, Adrian Durham will be at St James's Park this evening as he hosts kick-off, covering all the Champions League action with commentary of Atletico Madrid versus Spurs as well. But today, we're asking the question, who is the most exciting player to watch right now? Is it Lamine Yamal? Because he is absolutely sensational. I think when you do factor in his age as well, but could it be someone like Ryan Cherki? I think that there's a shout for Vinicius Jr. Michael Olise has been playing amazingly in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich. So let us know what you think. Give us a call on 03717 223344 or text 81089. Who is the most exciting player to watch right now? This is Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT with me, Angelina Kelly. It is 5:16. Up next, we'll get the best of the back pages and ask if the class of 92 are holding Man United back.
Igor Tudor, the same Igor Tudor, concentrated in taking whatever positives he could find out of that result.
They're disappointed, they wanted more. We are aware of that. We also want to give more. Unfortunately, this is the moment that we pay everything. Maybe it will sound strange, but I believe more after this game than I believe before. I saw something. I need to choose the right guys, because the boat, I said, now is going in direction that I want to go, that need to go, and who is in the boat can stay. Otherwise, can bow down. How you say that? Leave the boat. So when the other players will come back and choosing the rights, I'm sure that we will have a good teams and the victory will come back.
That was Igor Tudor grasping onto the positives as he saw them after the home defeat to Palace. But Simon, I think, if I remember rightly, you said if they lose to Fulham, they lose to Palace in mortal danger.
Yeah, I think they are. I think they've got. I mean, the only thing that will keep Spurs up at this moment in time is the other teams beneath them don't close the gap, because right now the only thing that's holding them up is the other team's previous performance. I mean, there's not a lot we can take from the Palace game. He went hard after the players, so and it didn't get much of a reaction, did it? So that to me was him looking at things, saying, "Okay, well, I said what I said. It didn't get me very much, so I'm going to have to perhaps change tack and say I saw something in the second half, which is we lifted a leg."
Good morning, I'm Angelina Kelly and this is Early Sports Breakfast. This morning we've been talking about Ouattara's failed Panenka and getting ready for a huge night of Champions League football. We're building up to breakfast at 6 a.m. with Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders live from Cheltenham Festival on the first day of racing. They've got racing royalty, Sir A.P. McCoy on the show, and Mark Lawrenson looks ahead to Liverpool's Champions League game at Galatasaray this afternoon. A few more things that you need to know this morning. West Ham Ham will host Leeds United in the FA Cup quarter-finals. League One side Port Vale have landed a dream tie at Chelsea. Manchester City, they will be hosting Liverpool, and Arsenal go to Southampton. Alexis McAllister, he insists he's in no rush to talk about a contract extension at Liverpool. Ryan Gravenberch has signed a new long-term deal. McAllister's contract runs until 2028. He says there are other things to focus on. And Jack Draper kept his Indian Wells Masters title defence on track with a straight set win over Francisco Cerundolo.
I think I played a good first set. I came out stronger. I felt like I'm hitting the ball better than I have done for a long time. I'm getting better all the time, but definitely was very ropey second set, that's for sure. And it's tough being off court for a long time, and it's more about the concentration, point in, point out, and getting that consistency back.
Draper now has a last 16 tie with Novak Djokovic. But for more on all the biggest stories, make sure you go to talksport.com. And don't forget, you can also watch us on your smart TV, Samsung, LG, Fire TV, Apple, Chromecast, Android, Google TV and Prime Video. TalkSport is there. Now, Manchester United chatter. I can hear, actually, I don't know if you guys can hear it as well. There is a vehicle reversing, and that vehicle is owned by Paul Scholes. After Manchester United lost to Newcastle, Paul Scholes was caught out in an Instagram post seemingly criticising Michael Carrick. However, he's now decided to completely backpedal on his podcast with Nicky Butt, his partner in crime when he was criticising Lisandro Martinez earlier this season, and former Red Wes Brown. So Scholes has claimed that this post, where after the loss, he said that Carrick has definitely got something special about him because United have been rubbish, shall we say, it was the word that he used, in the last 4 games. He's now saying that the post was in no way intended to be offensive towards Michael and that he did message him straight away. On Hawksby and Jacobs, former Man United captain Steve Bruce agreed with the boys that all this chat can't be helpful for Carrick.
And even me, I'm now talking on radio. And you know, I'm praising Michael because I think he's done a remarkable job, and I think he deserves maybe a crack at it. Yeah. I can understand there's a clamour to say we should have somebody bigger and better and blah blah blah.
Yeah, but not at this stage of the season when he got brought in.
Yeah, they did exactly the right thing, and he hit the ground running, which was great to see. A bit like what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did. Yeah, he hit the ground running, and Michael was working alongside him. Yeah, it can't be helpful.
You know what? I do agree with Steve Bruce. Just thinking about these Manchester United former players, you're of course allowed to have an opinion, but I just think the way that Paul Scholes has gone about it, it's not been great. He went on to try and explain himself, reiterating that, you know, it was something to do with Sir Alex Ferguson and how you need luck sometimes in games. He stated that he was saying that Carrick is a very talented manager, but the problem with that is that he didn't actually say that in the post and hasn't even bothered to clarify it until now. And Wes Brown even said once he spoke to Paul Scholes, he understood where he was coming from, but at the time, he read it as if Scholes was having a go at Carrick. And I think this does prove that former players and legends of clubs need to sometimes be careful about running their mouths and almost tying themselves in knots, because Paul Scholes has created, whether intentionally or not, more drama and more chaos around the club that he apparently loves so much. And it's a bad look overall. And I hope that maybe you take some learnings from this. We're all entitled to an opinion. That's absolutely fine if that's what Paul Scholes thought. But as a former Manchester United player, you have got to acknowledge that your words do carry weight. And the bottom line is, he came across to a lot of Manchester United fans like he was taking joy in the club losing, which is unacceptable considering he is loved by the fan base so much. But don't forget, you can head to the TalkSport Manchester United YouTube page for the latest on the Red Devils, including Inside Devils, our Manchester United show, with Flex, TalkSport's chief football correspondent Alex Crook, and myself, where we are a bit kinder to Michael Carrick than Paul Scholes was after that 2-1 defeat to Newcastle. Don't forget, you can send us a WhatsApp or text on 81089. Today, we are talking about the most exciting players to watch in football right now. Darren has texted in, I don't think there's any great players to watch. The Premier League has lost its excitement because wingers don't take on fullbacks anymore. Oh, come on, Darren, don't be so miserable. And also, it's not just the Premier League. We can look further afield. We can look to Europe, even beyond. There's definitely some exciting players out there. Conrad has messaged, morning, Angelina, lovely name. Thank you very much. And he said, well done, Jared Bowen, for last night. My player to watch is still Cristiano Ronaldo. Fair enough. I also want to give a shout out to Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo, who broke the world half marathon record in Lisbon. 57 minutes, 20 seconds. Wow, that is absolutely insane. And a message from Tony, and you could watch Man United tonight. Oh no, sorry, they don't play with the big boys, do they? Yeah, well, they'll be playing with them next season, so whatever, Tony. But make sure you get in touch with the show on 81089. Today's talking point is, of course, who is the most exciting player to watch in football right now? And it doesn't have to be the Premier League. You can look into Europe and beyond as well. But it is 5:25 and it's time now to have a look at the back pages. Nick Ellaby is back in the studio and it's a 90s revival on a lot of the back pages this morning.
Yes, it is. It's before your time, isn't it, this band? Then?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm a 95 baby.
Okay. Well, you're just about it.
Yeah, maybe I don't think my mum was playing this to me when I was sat playing with my blocks and stuff.
No, smells like Tino Spirit on the back of the Sun. Eddie Howe was trying to sort of get that spirit of 97. Tino Spirit scored a famous hat-trick against Barcelona in the Champions League. But that was in the group stages. Like, Newcastle have never been at this stage of the competition before. Eddie Howe's trying to get his boys up for it, saying, look, take your chance.
Yep.
Let's turn back Tyne on the back of the Daily Express Sport. Another picture of Tino Asprilla. I don't know if they've wheeled him out for this game. If they're going to get him, because he came to one of the previous ones, doesn't he? Let's turn back Tyne on the back of the Star Sport. Do you think Newcastle can do something against this very attacking but also flawed Barcelona side?
You know what? I think we can't underestimate Newcastle going into this. I think that when you look at the way that Barcelona will let you play, which I think Newcastle will enjoy, I think you've got players like Anthony Gordon who will relish, facing Barcelona. Defensively, they're not amazing. Going forward, like you say, they do look very good. But I just think this isn't a done deal. And even though they did face each other in the league phase, sometimes that can maybe help things, for Eddie Howe. He's thinking, we've already faced them. We've already lost them at St James's Park. Let's make sure that we don't do it.
He did well, though.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of positives to take from it. And maybe having faced them in the league phase is going to work in the favour.
Here's a stat for you, right? In the group stages, Barcelona were sort of responsible for the most goals in terms of for and against.
Yeah.
So 36 goals. They scored 22, but they let in 14.
There you go.
So no other club had such a sort of busy group stage in terms of goals. So I think it's set up for an absolute cracker tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good one, won't it?
You into horse racing?
I've not had it confirmed, but I think I might be allergic to horses. So, are you actually?
Yeah, but I haven't tested this since I was 18. But my face sort of blows up.
It happened to me once. I was on holiday in Marrakesh, and I looked like I'd been in a boxing ring.
The same. Is that when you get on the pony and trap or whatever, and you hold the reins?
I wasn't holding the reins, but yeah, similar kind of thing. Yeah, so I tend to just stay away from the horses just in case.
The boys are at Cheltenham, obviously, this morning. Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders presenting breakfast. Willie Mullins.
That's why we've been kept here, just in case we have some kind of reaction or something. They've kept us safe.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can't be too... The thing is, I don't know. I haven't tested it for about 20
I don't want to test it after what happened. It was scary, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Willie Mullins wants to start the Cheltenham Festival with a bang today. He, hot favourite, 2-1, Lossiemouth in the Champion Hurdle. That race will be live on talkSPORT later on Andy Jacobs and Paul Hawksby's show. Couple of things that caught my eye very quickly is Rodri's not getting a ban after saying that they're potentially sort of intimating the ref wasn't fair in the Man City 2-2 draw with Tottenham.
Lucky man.
I think he's yeah?
Yeah, I just think it does open up a very interesting debate about whether the FA are too lenient on players or managers who essentially accuse referees of being biased or not neutral, as Rodri did. I know that Nico Williams, he received a fine last season for saying something very similar about the PGMOL after Forest lost to Everton. So there is precedent for this as a punishment, but yeah, I think he's been quite lucky there, to be honest.
Real Madrid after Rodri, apparently. That's what we understand here at talkSPORT. And there we go. That's it.
Well, thank you very much for that, Nick. All very insightful. That was a review of this morning's back pages with talkSPORT's Nick Ellaby. I'm Angelina Kelly. You're listening to Early Sports Breakfast on talkSPORT. Up next, we'll have some fun with the front pages and ask if Slot needs the Champions League to save his job.
yesterday. Absolutely pathetic, lads.
Yeah, very true, mate.
Shocking. So, all right, so where are you off now? You off to the airport?
I'm at West Ham tonight, and then I've got a good couple of days, mate. I'm Atletico Madrid, Spurs, and then Real Madrid, Manchester City, both in Madrid. So I'm having a wee chat. I'm maybe get back on Friday, but I don't know, mate. But you'll be carrying a can, no problem at all. With those.
Well, Andy's coming Friday as well, so we're going to have
brilliant.
We're going to have a great week. It's very foggy at the moment, but that doesn't matter. That'll lift by the time the tapes go up on Tuesday in the Supreme. Can't wait, really can't wait. It's going to be such an open, good racing as well, and loads of fans. I've had so many calls and texts. Can you get me a ticket? I'm coming down. Crikey.
Yeah.
So many people coming. It's going to be magic.
He's like ticket taking, you are.
I know.
It's going to be amazing, lads. I was listening to the show this morning. The show's been brilliant. John, it's a great spot you've got there, obviously. I heard Simon on. I mean, the build-up's just going to be fantastic. I can guarantee you'll be watching it. Mark will be there. We'll have the phone and the iPads out and we'll be watching it, mate. So, best of luck to you all, you
Ali,
boys.
what about Ali, those games in Madrid, what are you thinking?
Oh, crikey. You'd be a brave man that would say Atletico Madrid won't beat Spurs, do you know what I mean? To be honest with you. Yeah. And then the other one, Andy, Ray, you know...
It's not often you associate fan power with Chelsea Football Club, but one of the shining examples of it lies with a group called the Chelsea Pitch Owners. And they've proved to be the thorn in the side of owners past and present who've been dead set on moving stadiums to a larger, more lucrative piece of land. Essentially, the supporters group holds the freehold to the land on which Stamford Bridge sits. Former owner Ken Bates set it up at a time where some unruly property developers tried to evict the club from their ground. In order to prevent this, he established the CPO as a company that owned the pitch and offered the fans the chance to buy a share for £100. As well as that, they also own the rights to the name Chelsea Football Club, so if any owner wants to take them elsewhere, they can't be called Chelsea without the approval from the CPO. Now, in 2011, Roman Abramovich tried and failed to move them away from Stamford Bridge, and this has set a precedent for Todd Bowley and the current power brokers at Chelsea. They know any plan which involves moving from Stamford Bridge will require CPO approval from the now 13,000 fans who own it. There are fans who are concerned that if they stay at the bridge, they'll be left behind their domestic and European rivals who are moving to more commercially successful stadiums. But for the heritage and history lovers, Stamford Bridge is one of the iconic English stadiums, and to move away would be a grave mistake. It might not be as flashy as others, but stadiums like it have something about them that cannot be replaced. One thing's for sure, if Bowley wants to take Chelsea away from their home, he'll have to go through the CPO first.
Good morning. Producer Nick is dancing behind the glass. He is having the time of his life with that music. I'm Angelina Kelly. This is Early Sports Breakfast. This morning, we've been talking about Ouattara's failed Panenka. What a nightmare. And getting ready for a huge night of Champions League football. We're building up to breakfast at 6 a.m. with Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders live from Cheltenham Festival. On the first day of racing, they've got racing royalty Sir A.P. McCoy on the show, and Mark Lawrenson looks ahead to Liverpool's Champions League game in Galatasaray this afternoon. Some of the headlines this Tuesday morning: the Unibet Champion Hurdle is the feature race on the opening day of the Cheltenham Festival. That will be live on Hawksbee and Jacobs this afternoon. Willie Mullins' trained Lossiemouth is the Willie Mullins' trained Lossiemouth is the bookmaker's favourite. England look to be doubling down on their kicking strategy ahead of their final Six Nations match against France. Scrum half Ben Spencer says he can't see them changing the game plan despite criticism for the way they've attacked. And Mena Fitzpatrick insists there's more to come after Britain's most decorated Winter Paralympian made her return from a serious knee injury with a sixth-place finish in the women's visually impaired Super G. She goes in the Alpine combined this morning alongside guide Katie Guest in Milan Cortina. Fitzpatrick explains how their partnership works.
On the slopes, I can literally just see blanket of white, and then Katie as a bright orange or bright pink object sort of whizzing through the gates in front. But we do also have Bluetooth headsets, so we're constantly chatting to each other.
And for more on all the biggest stories, make sure that you go to talksport.com. Now, our top story on Early Sports Breakfast today is that West Ham are through to the FA Cup quarter-finals. They will face Leeds. And the reason why they're through, it's thanks to Dango Ouattara misjudged Panenka for Brentford in the shootout.
A stupid decision, and he hands the advantage to West Ham United.
Comical from Ouattara is what it ends up being when you try it and it doesn't come off. Areola just stuttered as if he was going to move. Ouattara just clipped it lovely right into his arms. Incredible.
The way that the Hammers goalkeeper just stood there and just caught it, he almost looked like, well, he wasn't expecting it, but he looked so surprised to say, oh, the ball's in my hand, this is what's happening. But I mean, the guy's called it stupid and comical there, and I think that sums it up. I think you do have to give people props. When you agree to step up to take a penalty, the amount of pressure that is riding on you, it must be absolutely huge. But I just think with so much riding on the game, was that really the right time to try a Panenka? I think big congratulations to Nuno Espirito Santo, though, for getting the Hammers into the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time in 10 years. And we've got West Ham's next Premier League game at home to Manchester City live on talkSPORT this Saturday night. But elsewhere, we've been talking about the Champions League. Liverpool, they go to Galatasaray in today's early Champions League kickoff. It's live on talkSPORT 2. And speaking on White and Jordan last week, Danny Murphy said that Arne Slot might need to win the whole thing to save his job.
I think a lot of fans don't think they'll get in the top four the way they're playing. Now, there is always the chance you can win the Champions League. You don't have to be the best team in it to win it. We've seen that many times.
Yeah.
But you think Liverpool's side of the draw, they'd have to play damn sight better than they are now to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So he could save himself with that. I don't even think the FA Cup would save him if he finished out the top four and got knocked out of the Champions League.
I mean, I totally understand where Danny Murphy's coming from. Liverpool did lose 1-0 to Galatasaray in the league phase with a goal from Victor Osimhen. However, you can't imagine that with the talent that Liverpool possess, that they would come unstuck again. The Turkish side, they showed a lot of character to come back against Juventus in the knockout phase playoffs to win 7-5 on aggregate. So props to them, but surely Liverpool will be able to progress from this. And I do get it. This competition will realistically be the difference between this season being a disappointment or a success. And it might even keep Arne Slot in the job because top four is nowhere near guaranteed. And I think that being able to walk away from this season with something like the Champions League is the only thing that is going to keep the Liverpool fans happy when you look at this drop-off that they've had. I mean, you think they lost, 4 games last season in the Premier League? They've lost 9 already. It's just not good. So, yeah, I think they need to focus on this Champions League and they've got a chance. But Galatasaray versus Liverpool kicks off at 5:45pm today, live on talkSPORT 2 with commentary from Ian Danter and former England defender Alvin Martin. Thank you for getting in touch, everybody, this morning. Today, we're talking about the most exciting players to watch. Kate in sunny Bolton has said, good morning, lovelies. Also, shout out to Bolton, not too far from where I'm from. But she said, I've watched Wrexham a lot recently, and Sam Smith seems to be on the end of every ball, often with a corker of a goal. I like that. I like that we're looking at Wrexham because they've had an amazing run. It's a shame that they got knocked out at the weekend. It sounded like it was a fantastic game. Anonymous has said, Slot needs to win the Champions League to save his job. Come on, Angelina. I know you're a United fan, but LOL. I mean, number one, producer Nick, writes the questions. And also, Danny Murphy said it. And you know what, Liverpool fans, get in touch if you want. But I do think that this Champions League is so pivotal for this season. I think it's pivotal for Arne Slot because top 4 is going to be so difficult. And if you don't have the Champions League, where do you go from there with Arne Slot? I know that he had a great season, last season, winning the Premier League, but is that really enough? Have you seen enough from him this season that you would trust him for the next one? Make sure that you send us a text on 81089. Get in touch about that one. But now it is time for this.
It's a front page throwdown.
Oh, what a move.
The front page is first on the early sports breakfast. Talk Sport.
Nick is back with us for a look at the lighter side of today's front pages. What have you got for us?
Bit of Liam Gallagher news. He's joked it was the on-tour catering that made him agree to the Oasis reunion mega gigs.
Okay, not the money.
Well, I think that probably helped.
Yeah.
The 53-year-old singer was asked by a fan if the Live 25 tour was driven by financial gain, as you intimated there.
Yeah.
Liam wrote on X, "Silly Billies, we did it for the catering."
The catering? I wonder what the catering was for it to be that good.
Must have been incredible.
Yeah.
I was wondering, you do a bit of reporting, Angelina.
Yes.
Which football ground has the best food?
Spurs is good.
Yeah?
I'll be honest.
What have they got at Spurs?
I think when I went, I had a roast dinner.
Really?
I'm pretty certain I did, yeah. But I cover
They
a
got
lot.
like a load of food trucks or something. What have they got there?
No, so when you go into... So this is obviously they've got a lot of food outside Tottenham. There's a lot of places that you can try. But when you're... Yeah, well, when you're media, though, you get to go into into a special area and you get certain food, and that was really good. I cover a lot of Women's Super League. Obviously, Arsenal play the majority of their home games at the Emirates Stadium. You get looked after.
That's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, God, yeah. Depending what time the kickoff is, you get like a full English, and then after that, you get waffles.
Wow.
And then
Does that ever impact on your broadcasting if you've eaten too much?
No, never, ever. And then you also get a Sunday roast. It depends on what time. But yeah, they stick out to me.
Sounds amazing. North London hospitality.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
Here's a question for you. How often do you wash your pants?
Every day, like normal people? No, is that? Am I wrong?
Is it normal though? Stinky Brits are washing their pants just once a week.
What?
With millions using the same pair over and over again.
No, people can't be doing that. That's not okay.
This is in the Daily Star.
No, we need to be. Come on, I mean, I know. I know things can be tough, but we've got. That's one thing we can't let that slip, can we? We've got to be on our A game when it comes to washing our pants.
What percentage of guys do you think wash their pants every day?
We're talking guys.
Yeah.
I would really like to think that it was a high percentage that did wash them every day, but it's probably quite low, isn't it? Go on.
It's quite low. Smelly fellas are setting the worst example with just 26% washing their underwear daily. A fifth of us, so that's 20%.
I'm so confused right now.
Are using the same pair of smalls for days on end.
Are they turning them inside out, or?
That was sort of like the old thing, wasn't it? Turn them back to front, turn them inside out.
Yeah.
It's really gross, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm sorry.
Laundry expert Dejan Dimitrov at Laundry Heap, which did the study, said even if worn for only a few hours, underwear collects sweat, oil, and bodily fluids.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Washing before people.
That's why we change them every day. Yes. Outrageous.
How many showers do you have a day? Do you have one a day, more than one?
At least one a day, sometimes two a day. It depends what I've got going on.
I have two a day usually.
Yeah.
One in the morning, one in the evening.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the one for you. It's a bit nicer theme here, right?
Okay.
Brits call their mum the most when they reach 29, research reveals. This is a poll from 3UK, but they found people in their early 30s speak to their mother 5 times a week. While half said they phone their mum more often than they did 10 years ago.
I know, I've always rang my mum a lot. I've always needed a lot of help.
How often do you speak to your mum?
I speak to my mum, who I know is listening to this show and probably watching it, Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie.
Shout out to Jackie. I know that she's watching and listening. My number one fan always. But no, I have always spoken to my mum as often as I possibly can. I try to speak to her, even if it's via text, might not be a phone call, every day. Sometimes with work it can get a bit busy, but she's very understanding of that, so I'm very lucky. But yeah, no, I I go to her for everything, advice, even if it's like supermarket questions normally.
Yeah.
I don't know how she puts up with me, to be honest.
On the subject of supermarkets, have you seen in Lidl they're selling this like new £40 running trainer?
No, I was in Lidl last night. I didn't see it.
Hang on, let me just pull this up. So
it's a trainer, like a shoe.
Yeah, like a running shoe. Here we go. Supermarket, Super Shoes hit supermarket as Lidl launches its own version at $39.99. Almost a decade after, this is in the Times. Matt Lawton writing in the Times. Almost a decade after Nike revolutionised running with a carbon-plated Vaporfly, Lidl creates a cut-price version that could have amateurs sprinting to the middle aisle. Obviously, other cheap supermarkets are available, but do you have any good purchases you get from the middle of Lidl? Sometimes they have some like quite good DIY home stuff.
Yeah, good few bits of DIY. They've also got like good things for kids, like toys and things like that. I've got godchildren. My cousin's got young kids, so if you want a little present for them, good to pick something up, a little book or something maybe.
Remember when Lidl first arrived, like back in the 2000s, when it was like proper random? It was like slippers and then hacksaws, and then some apple sweets.
Yeah, I appreciate that though. But I mean, you can't go wrong with the bakery either.
Big fan
Absolutely
of it. And now they're doing running shoes, and that is the front pages.
Listen,
huge shout out to Jackie as well.
A massive shout out to Jackie, and thank you for always picking
and
the phone
all the
up
mums out there.
Yeah, all the mums. Yeah, all the mums. Especially, we've got Mother's Day that's coming up on Sunday. I'm actually working, so my mum is visiting at the moment because we've had to rearrange Mother's Day, but that's the kind of mum she is. She's understanding of talkSPORT and what I'm needed for.
Love the mums.
Yeah, shout out to all the mums. But thank you very much for that, Nick. This is Early Sports Breakfast with me, Angelina Kelly. It is 5:47. Up next, we will look ahead to tonight's Champions League games, and you could win an all-expenses-paid trip to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone.
Just like former players, on the TV pundits, radio pundits, they've been saying the same thing for weeks and months now.
Saying what?
That Arsenal is going to fail, Arsenal is winning ugly, Arsenal is a set pieces team.
Who are saying this?
Who's saying they're going to fail?
Yeah, Gary Neville, Roy Keane, Carragher, all of them, even some former Arsenal players. I just crossed the path, with Ray Parlour. Just came out and say, "Are you confident to stay?" No, I'm not.
Well, I'm confident, but I don't want to overshoot it, if you know what I mean. I know Piers Morgan said they're going to win it in March and this, that, whatever. I don't want to be saying things like that because I know how hard it is, and you could get a bad spell. But they're in a great position, and sometimes you can be overconfident, can't you?
Ray, what about the Brighton game? Brighton fans were going crazy with the time wasting. Did you see that or not?
Look, you do try and slow if you can. Al, I mean, we used to try and do it. If we're leading and whatever, you got to try and see games out. And the good thing about that game was that they wasn't very good. They was poor as a team, but they won the game, and that's what it comes down to. You don't analyse every single game when you finish the season with the trophy in your hands and say, "Well, but remember the Brighton game? We didn't play that well, did we? We got lucky there." You just embrace the moment and say, "Look, we're champions."
Good morning, I'm Angelina Kelly. This is the early sports breakfast on talkSPORT. We're building up to breakfast at 6 a.m. with Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders live from Cheltenham Festival on the first day of racing. They've got racing royalty Sir A.P. McCoy on the show, and Mark Lawrenson looks ahead to Liverpool's Champions League game at Galatasaray this afternoon. But right now, it's competition time.
Win a VIP trip to the British Grand Prix on talkSPORT.
Listen up, F1 fans. We're sending two of you to the British Grand Prix on Sunday, July 5th with the full Racing Green trackside experience. Forget the general admission. You're getting exclusive grandstand seats, plus inner track access to watch the drivers roll into the paddock. And we've got the whole day sorted with all-day street food, a fully open bar and more. It's the ultimate British Grand Prix completely on us. Here is how to enter for your chance to win. Text WIN to 83338. Text costs £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. Lines close March 20th, 2026 at 4 p.m. That is when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus UK residents only. This is a network promotion. Full T's and C's at talksport.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. Good luck.
Win a VIP trip to the British Grand Prix on talkSPORT.
So the Champions League football under the lights returns tonight, and talkSPORT have got you covered.
It is the competition that all the big guns want to win. For Mbappe, lobs it over the keeper. Oh, what a start! Nunez across the Haaland, and they've got another.
I'm still not convinced they're a genuine Champions League contender, and you know I'm not convinced that Real Madrid are.
I think the Champions League is wide open.
And Harry Kane is amongst the goals again.
We could win the Champions League this season, and we probably could win the lot.
Gordon steers it into the far corner, and Newcastle United lead.
Rashford got a second bite at the cherry that he wouldn't have expected, and then has pinged one in off the underside of the bar.
It would be a brave man that wrote Newcastle out of that tie.
As Salah tiptoes his way through. That is what Mo Salah is all about.
You don't have to be the best team to win the Champions League.
Here's Joao Pedro, driving forward, what a goal! Yamal with a dancing footwork into the penalty area, turning shot, magnificent!
This Arsenal side just carry on. They roll on like a machine.
Champions League football is back.
Yes, Galatasaray versus Liverpool kicks off at 5:45 p.m. today, live on talkSPORT 2 with commentary from Ian Danter and former England defender Alvin Martin. And you can join Adrian Durham from 7 p.m, who will keep you across all of tonight's games on talkSPORT kickoff. And there will be commentary of Atletico Madrid versus Spurs at 8 p.m. from Jim Proudfoot and Scott Minto. But looking at these Champions League games, Galatasaray versus Liverpool, you know, Galatasaray did manage to get a win over Liverpool in September. Victor Osimhen getting that penalty as the only goal. Alisson is out injured, so that means that Mamardashvili will play. We've got Atalanta versus Bayern Munich. Harry Kane travels, but has been a bit of a doubt with a calf injury. But by the way, 45 goals in 37 games in all competitions for him. He's in the form of his life. I think if Bayern Munich win this Champions League, which there is every chance that they could because they are one of the favourites, and if England do well at the World Cup, I mean, Harry Kane has got to be a contender for the Ballon d'Or. And this is without even mentioning Michael Elise, who European football expert Kev Hatchard was telling me that he is arguably the best player in Germany at the moment. So he's been absolutely fantastic. So looking forward to seeing what Bayern Munich can do against Atalanta, who, you know, have been a little bit shaky, but they won 4-3 on aggregate against Borussia Dortmund in the last round. Got that Newcastle versus Barcelona game, biggest game in Newcastle's history, some might argue. Anthony Gordon could start up front to take advantage of that Barcelona high line. We've got Atletico Madrid against Tottenham Hotspur. Oh, yeah, Spurs are still in the Champions League, believe it or not. And after this, Spurs have got Liverpool away, then Forest at home. How many games does Igor Tudor have to prove himself? He thinks that Spurs' continued good form in the Champions League can help them at home, and he could use the ties against Atletico Madrid to experiment.
I agree. Both things, as I said, focus on us. We are playing against a team who has a story in this Champions League. So they have experience, they have quality. We need to do our best in terms that we need to grow. You know, as you said, also because our first aim is Premier League, and this is need to be said also publicly. It's a normal thing. This is something extra, but that don't mean that we don't want to pass. We don't want to go in next round.
Yeah, I mean, obviously admitting that the Premier League is a priority as well, but I would just like to see Spurs just have a go at it against Atletico Madrid. These fans must be so miserable watching these games. It'd be nice if they could at least look back and think, you know what, the Champions League, we had a good run. Those games against Atletico Madrid might be nice. But don't forget, Atletico Madrid versus Spurs is live on talkSPORT tonight. We've also got Championship football. It's Millwall versus Derby exclusively on talkSPORT 2. 7:45pm kickoff with commentary from Ollie Kling and former Arsenal winger Perry Groves. Don't forget, you can send us a WhatsApp or a text on 81089. Thank you for getting in touch, everybody, today. Tim, why would you wash your pants every day? I have enough pairs to change them every day. The most exciting player, Posh Amanda in Chichester, Glenn Hoddle. Great player, poor pundit. But yeah, thank you, everybody, for getting in touch. Loads more coming up on talkSPORT Breakfast today. Joining Alan Brazil and Dean Saunders today, Sir AP McCoy joins the boys who are live from the Cheltenham Festival. 10-time major trophy winner Mark Lawrenson previews Liverpool's Champions League trip to Galatasaray live on talkSPORT 2 this evening, and Newcastle's 90s midfielder Lee Clark looks ahead to their huge game with Barcelona tonight. You have been listening to the Early Sports Breakfast with me, Angelina Kelly. Alan and Dean are on the way next.
Simon, there was controversy last week, if you remember. Sections of Elland Road booed as the game against Manchester City paused for Muslim players to break their Ramadan fast. The incident occurred 11 minutes into the game. An explainer flashed up on the big screen. Do you remember that? Play has been paused briefly to allow players to break their fast, but the boos continued alongside some chanting. Manchester City on that occasion named 3 players, Muslim players, Marmoush, Cherki and Ait Nouri, in their starting 11. And it goes back to the fact that in 2021 an agreement was introduced to allow Muslim players to break their fast during a Premier League match. But there was a lot of chat around that and as to why a certain number of Leeds fans